You know, in our lives, we're always looking for role models, right? For some kind of blueprint on how to be better. Better leaders, better parents, just better people. Well, today, we're not just looking back at a historical figure. We're going to explore a living, breathing blueprint, a method for changing hearts and minds, one that's built entirely on mercy and wisdom.
The life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, what we call the Seerah. It's so much more than just a collection of stories. And this verse, it just says it so perfectly. His life is an excellent example, a practical guide for every single part of our lives. Those footprints you see, they're not just marks in the sand. They represent a path of incredible character, leadership, and compassion that was left for all of us to follow.
So to really understand this, we're going to dive into a specific case study. Let's go back in time to the year 8 after the Hijrah, right to the outskirts of Makkah. After so many years of persecution and being forced into exile, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is returning. But here's the thing, he isn't coming back for revenge. He's coming with a purpose that's about to completely redefine what victory even means.
10,000. An army of 10,000 had gathered. Now you have to understand, a force of this size was completely unheard of in the Arabian Peninsula at that time. The people inside Makkah, they had no clue what was coming their way, only that the balance of power had just shifted dramatically. Under this massive desert sky, a new chapter of history was about to be written.
And this is where the strategy gets really brilliant. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, gave a simple order. Every single soldier was to light their own fire. Can you just imagine what that looked like from the walls of Makkah, the entire valley, just blazing with 10,000 points of light? This wasn't just a military tactic, it was a psychological one. The goal wasn't to terrify them into submission, it was to show such overwhelming strength that any thought of resistance would seem pointless. And that right there would open the door for a peaceful entry, without any bloodshed.
So in the darkness, a few of Makkah's leaders, including their chief, Abu Sufyaan, decide to sneak out and figure out what this terrifying light show is all about. And it's right there, among the rocks and the flickering fires, that he's found by Al-Abbas, the Prophet's own uncle. Al-Abbas knew this was it. This was the absolute last chance for the Quraish. The leader of the entire opposition had just walked straight into the lion's den.
Realizing how critical this moment was, Al-Abbas made a split-second decision. He offered Abu Sufyaan a spot on his mule and promised him, "I will get you protection from the messenger of Allah." He gave his personal guarantee of safety to the very man who'd been leading the fight against the Muslims for nearly 20 years, and then he rode him right through the camp, straight towards the Prophet's tent.
As they're making their way through, they get spotted by one of the strongest companions, Umar al-Khattab, and Umar's reaction is immediate. I mean, by any law of war, it was totally logical. He shouts, "It is Abu Sufyaan, the enemy of Allah. All praise is for Allah who has given me power over you." He then sprints to the Prophet's tent, demanding justice. "O messenger of Allah, let me strike his neck." So now, the ultimate question is on the table. What do you do with your fiercest enemy when he's finally completely powerless in front of you? Justice or something else?
Okay, so the stage is set. Umar is demanding justice. All the companions are watching. The fate of an entire city is hanging in the balance. The way the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, responds in this single moment, well, it's a masterclass in leadership that completely defies what any conqueror would normally do.
Let's just look at the two options on the table. On one side, you have vengeance, the expected outcome, execution. Abu Sufyaan himself knew he was a dead man. But on the other side, you have the prophetic response. Instead of passing an immediate sentence, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, just completely de-escalates the situation. He simply turns to Al-Abbas and says, "Take him, and then bring him to me in the morning." He chose to give safety, time, and dignity over instant revenge.
And you might ask, where does a choice like that come from? It wasn't some cold political calculation. It was who he was at his core. It was a mercy that was gifted to him directly from God. As this verse explains so beautifully, his gentleness is what brought people together. A harsh leader, sure, they can command obedience with fear. But a merciful leader, they earn loyalty through love. And that was the very foundation of his community. So the next morning comes. Abu Sufyaan is brought before him. And there's no trial. There's no big list of charges being read out. Instead, there's just a calm, direct conversation. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, asks him,
"Woe to you, O Abu Sufyaan! Is it not time for you to know that there is no God but Allah?" And then he follows up, "Has the time not come for you to know that I am the messenger of Allah?" It was an invitation to the truth, delivered with so much patience and nobility that it completely opened Abu Sufyaan's heart, and he accepted the faith right then and there.
Now, Abu Sufyaan's acceptance of Islam was a huge moment, but the story doesn't end there. In fact, what happens next reveals an even deeper methodology. It's one that isn't just focused on winning a battle or conquering a city, but on winning over and truly nurturing a person's heart.
This, right here, is a moment of just incredible emotional intelligence. Al-Abbas, who's known Abu Sufyan his entire life, completely understood his psychology. He knew that for a man who was used to being the chief of Makkah, the idea of losing his status was a very real, very deep concern. So he goes to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and he advises him on this. He basically says, he's a man who loves honor. He needs to feel that his honor is still intact.
And this really gets to the heart of a concept called tarbiyah. It's a word that means so much more than just teaching. It's about nurturing. It's about understanding the individual in front of you, their needs, their psychology, their fears, their hopes, and then guiding them based on that unique understanding. It's about cultivating their character, not just dictating a set of rules to them.
So what was the Prophet's response to this incredibly wise advice? He immediately announced, "Yes, whoever enters the house of Abu Sufyaan is safe. Whoever closes his own door is safe. And whoever enters the sacred mosque is safe." I mean, with that one single declaration, he didn't just forgive his former enemy. He elevated him. He turned Abu Sufyaan's house into a place of sanctuary, a symbol of this new era of peace. He addressed that core need for honor in the most generous and constructive way imaginable.
So if we were to break this method down, almost like a playbook, what would it look like? Well, first, he led by his own example of mercy. That came before any words. Second, he corrected Abu Sufyaan's disbelief with a dignified invitation, not by shaming him. Third, he nurtured him with patience, taking the time to understand his emotional needs. And finally, he built a brand new relationship on a foundation of mercy and trust, transforming an enemy into a powerful force for peace.
And this all connects right back to the absolute core of his mission. As he himself said, "I was sent only to perfect good character." Every single action, every decision, from lighting those 10,000 fires to honoring Abu Sufyaan, it was all a practical lesson in moral and ethical excellence.
And this is exactly why this story matters so much to us today. This method isn't just for historical leaders conquering cities, it's a guide for us. In our own homes, as parents, in our workplaces, as colleagues and managers, in our communities, as neighbors. How can we lead with mercy? How do we offer advice with dignity? How do we really nurture the people in our lives, understanding what they actually need? The answers, they're right here in this example.
So as we start to bring this all together, it becomes really clear. The story of Abu Sufyaan isn't just some dramatic episode from the conquest of Makkah. It's a perfect encapsulation of a legacy that continues to guide and inspire people to this very day.
You know, after watching the massive, disciplined Muslim army march past, Abu Sufyaan, who was still just completely in awe, turned to Al-Abbas and said, "Indeed, the kingdom of your nephew has become great." And Al-Abbas's reply, it just gets to the heart of everything. He said, "Woe to you, O Abu Sufyaan, it is prophethood." This wasn't the power of a king, which is built on force. This was the authority of a prophet built on divine guidance and moral character.
And ultimately, his entire mission, his whole life, is framed by this divine statement. "And we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds." Think about that. Like rain falling on dry, cracked earth, his teachings were meant to bring life and growth and relief to all of humanity. His mercy wasn't just for certain situations, it was universal, it was unconditional.
So the lessons from this one event are absolutely timeless. They teach us that the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, isn't just a history book. It's a living guide for building our own character. They teach us that true, lasting strength is found in mercy and patience, not in retaliation. That real leadership is about tarbiyah, about nurturing and developing people, not just dominating them. And that any healthy society has to be built on humility and true justice.
And that, right there, is the enduring power of his example. It isn't locked away in a specific time or place. These principles of mercy, of wisdom, of nurturing,
They are just as relevant and just as needed today as they were 14 centuries ago, offering us a clear path forward, an example for all time.